with me working on the fall lantern project. Let's get started. Okay, let's begin with, we're finishing up a couple of loose ends here. Where'd my needle threader go? Let's go ahead and finish up the little white blossoms that are up here, probably cotton blossoms, up here on the tip top of our project. There's one up here. 1, 2, 3. See if that's going to be a big enough spot there. I think I want to make these also just a little bit bigger, so we're going to use our technique of putting a detached chain stitch around a French knot in an effort to add an extra circle of width to it. Let's see if we're able to get that one in close. I think so. Okay, let's give this one a little bit of stem here. I'm going to do this with the arrow stitch rather than a fly stitch because I don't want my little twiggies here to be on top of my stem. Okay, and now we're going to do the exact same thing to each of these next two little blossoms. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Go down where you came out, snug them up, pull it tight. Let's do a detached chain around it to make it fatter. Okay. Oh, I'm so enjoying stitching with you. I wish there was a way that I could visit while we stitch, that I could do a better job of taking comments without it being out of control. But we're working on it. We're working on it. Because I'd like to be able to answer questions. Okay, so questions about the background wool on this. It's one of my favorites because of the texture that it has. Not how it feels, but the speckles in it, I think, add a lot to it. So it's not a solid color. It gives you a background that is really nice for projects. Its nature is that it is a looser weave, and that can complicate things, so you have to be a little bit careful with that. But I call it oatmeal. I know some people call it oatmeal cookie or something like that. But I'm like, no, oatmeal cookies are delicious. This looks like just plain old oatmeal. So yeah, and it actually, I've added color to it in a couple of places. For the sunset in the southwest sunset, for the sand needed to look like sand, which I took to be this color, but with the reflection of the pinks and yellows that were in the sky, peach, pink, and yellow. And so I dyed it with just a touch of those colors variegated across it, and I think that turned out fabulous. So, okay, now we finished that. That is all the white that we need. So next I want to do, we're going to couch this down around our candle. There's enough thread on here, so that's what we're going to try and do. All right, let's come out right over here at the base and head up this way. Now we need a couching thread in order to do that. I think what I'm going to use as a couching thread is a little bit of embroidery floss. This is embroidery floss that's on my desk for a completely different purpose, but it is thin and it's the right color, and I think it will work well. All right, we just need one strand, and we just need a tiny needle. Let's find the smallest needle I can find in there. This is just a 24. Okay, now let's tie a knot in the end of it. And remember that when we are couching, the reason I want couching is because I don't want backstitch around this candle where it's the featured item. I want a solid line, but I don't want anything as thick as a stem stitch or even a whipped backstitch. So we're just gonna tack it down, and we're going to tack it down smoothly but not too tight. I really don't want these couching stitches to show. Now that first one does, so we'll keep it a little bit looser. Let me do the next one. One of the ways to keep couching stitches from showing is to make sure that they don't end up looking like little X's. They need to stay so close when they come out and go back down in, so close that you don't see them sticking out from your thread. Yep, this is giving us just what I was hoping for, with just a little bit of edge to this candle. And we will have to decide at some point. I kind of want to, now when you're couching, you can't go to the tip here and the tip here if it has like a little indent like that. You've got to couch at the indent to keep it down there. Let's see if that's good enough or if I need another one along there. Okay, so I feel like that pulled it too tight, but if you'll pull on this, it'll loosen it up a little bit. There we go. I have to decide if we're going to do some drips on this candle or just around the outside of it. We're probably going to lay it on there and see what we think. Okay, my thread is not, there we go. Not where it needs to be couched. Okay, if I pull that down, I need to kind of simultaneously pull them so it stays in the right spot. Now, I'm going to take a step back because I can see right here, can you see how that's pulling away because of it's because of the shape of the candle. It needs to be tacked down closer here. So I'll just add one more tack up there. There we go. Now, one right here. Okay, then I do want to go down here, but what I want to know is, would I like it if it had like a blob on the top of here so it looked a little bit like, I don't think so. I don't think I can get the detail that would look right like a melting candle. So I don't think we're going to worry about that. Now, where did my couching thread go? Because I need one more couching stitch here. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, now we need to tie off our couching stitch. I didn't tie off this guy. I think he was at the end of a different video. I didn't realize that. Okay, and tie off this one. I don't normally have 3 threads on the back that haven't been tied off, but couching always has 2. Okay. All right, let's take a look and see where we're at. Okay, I think we are ready. We need it to put our wick on here, but then I think we're ready to do the black. I think that's the only thing we lack. So let's do some marking on here. I think the only thing we have left to mark is this is like a ball on top of the lantern, and this right here is meant to be like a hanging loop. All right, we're going to start up there, and we're going to start up there with, I think, a size 5. This is a good question. My question is, do you, when you are, see, this is a size 8. Is that, do I want it thicker than that? I do not. Okay, let's go to a size 8. When you are getting another kit or a new kit or whatever, or when you're working on multiple projects, let's start there. When you're working on multiple projects, do you have like a white with this, the threads for this project, a white with the threads for this project? Do you keep the threads like I do for the project in a separate little bowl? How do you, that's what happened with the brown. Someone asked for it and I took it in the house and then I had to go find it. How do you do that? And the reason that I ask is, do you have a white for every project, or multiple whites, or do you, what about those colors that you use on multiple projects? How do you handle those? I didn't have the blacks here, and they won't stay with this project, even though I might repeatedly use them with this project, because they are in with the mandalas, because when I do the mandalas on brighter colors, I do them with black. Same thing, I have a full set of whites in with my mandala packs. So I'm curious what the rest of you do. If you have, I think about it every time I'm putting together a thread pack and I add a white to it. I go, I wonder how many whites they have, or if you go through them all. I think that may have been the first color, white, that I used the entire spool. Since then, I've finished off several spools, but that's the question is, do you wish that basics, white and black, were left out of thread packs and that you had to purchase those separately so that you didn't have 7 copies of them? Sometimes I'm working on something and I'm like, okay, I'm going to use 8 on this for almost everything, but there's a few places where it would look good with 5. But I'm not going to make them buy a whole nother size 5 white just for those couple of places, because they'll look okay with 8. But I do say in the comments, if you've got 5, you could go ahead and use that here. What are your thoughts on that? How many black and white do you have? Those are really the colors that I have a bunch of. Everything else gets quite a bit used. I don't feel bad about it at all. And I do have people who, instead of doing the thread pack, if they're doing like a quilt, they'll take the whole thread pack. But if they're just doing a smaller project like this, instead of, okay, I think I went wrong. I did. I forgot when I did that one. There we go, to keep the thread. I didn't pull the thread towards me when I did that one. I have people who go through the thread list. My new goal as I add products to the store is to have that back page that lists what threads are used, so that you know when you buy it if there's any threads that you're going to need to get. All right, there's our loop on it. Now we're going to put the little ball on the top of this. And I got an idea that that will not be big enough. This is one of those times where I'm like, if you had a size 5, I don't even know if I like, okay, we'll just bully that French knot around and make it go over where we want it to be. When we put the detached chain stitch around it, we're going to make it stay where we want. This is still kind of small, so I think I'm going to do one more detached chain stitch around it. But this time I'm going to start up here. Now don't worry about this one sticks out longer than I would like it to right there. I'd have unpicked it, except that because I'm going to do another round, it'll get covered up in the second round. Okay, let's make sure that that lands where we want it to land. Right there. All right, now I think what I want to do to finish the outside, I don't want it to stand out too much, so let's do a back stitch around all of the edges. That will take us a minute because there's quite a few edges. And I still have the bullion knot needle on, which it's not terrible, but not needed. I'm going to switch to a chenille needle just because it's a little quicker for me to work with the shorter needle. Do you think of a lantern as a fall sort of icon? When I was working on these, I have the pumpkin, obviously, that's one of them. And then I have little red mushrooms on one of them. And I have a teacup with fall flowers in it on one of them. And then this is my fourth one, the kind of lantern in the woods sort of fall. It makes me think of when the weather turns a little bit, so that once the sun goes down, it's a little bit crispy, a little brisk outside. And it helps to see where you're going with the lantern. Okay. These little back stitches need to be tiny to go around all of these little bumps on here and keep them, preserve their shape. We're going to come back, I think, and do a big fat bullion knot all the way along there to give us our little ridge that we want there. First, we'll finish up this and the wick, and then that will be our final thing on this set. I would love to keep stitching with you all day long today, but I try to keep these to, well, I shoot for a half an hour. I rarely make that. When it starts to get close to 40 minutes, then I start to panic a little bit. I'm like, we gotta stop. But it depends on where I'm at, if I'm in a good stopping place or not. Yeah, if you want to come stitch with us on the first weekend in September of 2026. So if you're watching this after that, that won't do us any good, but keep an eye on my website because it'll say when the next one will be. We are doing our Maker's Weekend again that weekend. It is a weekend of stitching. You don't have to work on a specific project, although I'm planning on having a project for this one that we will work on during this event. It also, I like to include a dye day experience where if you want to learn a little bit about wool dyeing, make your own kind of blotchy wool. If you want to use something like maybe you want to have something that's got fall in it, yellows and oranges, browns, greens, something that you can cut out fall leaves with. That's the kind of thing that we will do during that time. I turn you loose with show you a few little techniques, and then I turn you loose in my dye room with all of the wool, all of the dyes that are up on the wall. and a couple of your own little samples that you get to dye, and then you do your thing. The ladies that did it last time loved how it turned out. It was interesting because I think they learned a lot about how the colors combine and what sorts of colors to pick or not pick, and how to, like, one of them said, oh, it turns out if you put red and green together you get brown. Yes, you do. So transitions from red to green need to have a gap in between them of some sort, because if you have red and green that are going to touch each other, you're going to get brown in between. So yeah, we learned a lot about mixing colors. And then in the second half of it, the first half we did a piece of wool, 2 pieces of wool. The second half of it we did fibers. And so they did pearl cotton and flat braid and ribbon, silk ribbon. Each of those takes the color a little bit differently, but they could create, their own custom fibers that they can use. All right, I am loving how that's turning out. We're about halfway done. Let's tie that guy off. Thread our needle again. And try to put the hammer down on this project. Okay. We're using the 8. So you'll notice that these are not Wonderfill colors. These are actually DMC. Quality is probably most important to me. Secondarily is cost. And so it just turned out that I could get the balls in 5s, 3s, 8s, and 12s from DMC, and I couldn't get 12s from Wonderfill, and I wanted to make sure that they matched and were consistent so that when you were working on a mandala project. And so that's why these are the DMC ones. I could use my Wonderfill blacks also, because I'm not using a size 12 on this, but okay, I'm having to watch here that my stitching is not pushing my black sidewall out, that I'm not going to get a bulge from where I'm doing my stitching, because it seems to want to. My goal in the end is not that the lantern bulges. That's not the plan. Okay. You'll notice that I switched down there from outside to inside. No reason other than it was closer to jump to here than it was to jump down to here. I could have gone all the way around first, but I think I started at the tip top up here, so that's not close to come to the inside either. And I'm going to have to come back and do the wick, and there's not a close place for that either, so. I'm going to do the wick with a size 8, and if I hate it, I'll come back with a 12. But I think that the 8 will be okay. And right here, across the bottom here, my goal is to cover up those little stitches that I made a little bit longer than I probably should have, trying to catch the edge of that candle underneath the black, and it looks like it slid off anyway. But if my back stitches can cover those guys up, that will be good. Ta-da! Looks like it's working. All right, now we just need to go across the bottom and back up the other side. We are almost to the finish point on this little guy. Okay, there we when you start to have trouble with it tangling like that, sometimes it just means that there's too many twists in your thread, and your best bet is to hold up your thread, hold up your whole project. You should be able to see this in my, well, I can pull it through first, in my video. If you look at the one of me, just hold it up like that and let it untwist. Notice that mine did not untwist at all. That will help with some of those little twists, because twists in your, some of the little knots, because the knots in your thread are often because it's too twisted. Okay, we do not want to go on top of where our daisies are in front of the lantern. Just where it's behind. Okay. There we go. I'm super tempted. In fact, I think I'll take myself up on it. Right here to jump from right over, because this is the closest spot to doing the wick. You know what? I am going to take the wick out from the top. I want to be right at the base of that little white part. And I do want to go, I don't want to stop short of the, well, I might. Let me look at my, so my thing here shows the wick coming in front because there could be wax higher than it in back. But I don't know if I love that, so I'm going to try just, yeah, there we go. I really think I'm going to like that better. Now let's jump back over here. So I actually have two little travels there that are a little longer than I usually would. But then I'm not tying it off for that, so let's keep going. You'll notice that I saved the one that scares me the most for last. Not on purpose, but yeah, that one definitely is the one that scares me the most. Okay, let's finish up going around. Now the little bumpy parts. Make sure we stay close and do short stitches so that we maintain the integrity of the shape. We don't turn a rounded corner into a square. And we don't pull anything super tight so we don't end up with big gaps in between. See, those, with that many stitches around there, it maintains the integrity of that shape. If I only had 3, it would turn it into a box. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, same thing here. In order to keep this one, you can see on this side, if you just did 3, like one on this side, one across the top, and one down the other side, you will turn that little rounded shape into a box. And we don't want to do that. So small stitches, as small as is needed to keep the shape of the original wool. Okay. Now I'm going to give you alternatives to this next stitch in case you don't want to do it. I am going to do a bullion knot stitch that goes across here so that there's a ridge on there, because bullion knots stand out that much. If that's not what you want to do, that's intimidating, that's too long, go ahead and do a chain stitch along there and then whip the chain stitch. It won't be as smooth, but it will be nice. All right, we're going to get, I'm switching to the size 5 for this because that's how big I think I need. And I'm going to find a bullion knot needle, the bigger one. Now, I have a video on my YouTube channel. No, it's not on my YouTube channel. If you subscribe to my newsletter, you get the video of, it's supposed to automatically send you the link to the video about, we're going to go just barely inside of that, advanced bullion knot stitches. Tips and tricks to do complicated bullion knots. This is going to be complicated because it's really long. And it has a way to have you do these bullion knots that is, like that's not going to leave me much space to wrap. It has a way that you can do it so that you can see if your wraps are going to be enough. And yeah, you can refer to that if you want to. I'm going to just do this the traditional way, but because I need more of my needle, I'm going to go ahead and fold my project in half right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got to get it in my fingers. I don't normally have it folded like that. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now these are supposed to go down, so I'm going to have to keep them. There we go. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Scrunch them down. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Scrunch them down. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Now, I want to show you that as I scrunch those down, is that going to be long enough? Not quite. I'm guessing that we are going to want to hit 55 to 60 wraps on this. All right, that's probably where we're at. Now, you can't, when nobody has that fat of fingers, so just hold the end. Okay, I'm holding and pulling. There we go. Now, this is the time where I got to lay it out flat because I do need enough thread to go along the back flat. Okay, now, I got to pull through this one now. I'm going to loosen it just a little bit because I think where the needle gets thinner up here at the top. Okay, I'm still holding those guys still. Now we can slide everybody off the bottom. Slide. Slide, slide. Yeah, these guys need to be a little bit looser. There we go. Now, everybody off, everybody off. Need my finger grippers that I don't have handy. My needle puller or my grippy fingers, sticky fingers. There we go. Pulling them all off. Come on. Work your way off. I actually have a 6-inch long, it's actually a doll maker's needle, so that I could do longer ones like this before I realized that the size of the eye was going to complicate things a lot. Because there aren't any bullion knot needles that are that long. Okay, let's pull our long thread. Nope. Let's pull our tail thread. Let's pull that guy through. Okay, we're getting closer. Now we just have to get this to lay down right over here. There we go. That was what I was looking for. It was just a very long bullion knot all the way across there. And I'm going to go ahead and take it down over here. Now, if you don't feel like it fills enough of the space, like that, if you wanted it to be fatter than that or bigger than that, you could do it with a size 3. That would be one thing that you could do. The other thing that you could do is just go back afterwards and sew satin stitches over top of it. That would make it fatter there. Okay? That is our lantern.